Welcome to another video, One Good Production here. Today I want to showcase my brand new video series called What's Your Story? In this series we're going to be taking a deep dive into what people do for a living and their passions, their goals, their beliefs, their ideas, and hopefully inspiring you to get out there and find your passion. I recently went to go and visit a friend up in Holland and do an interview with him about what he does for a living. So I'm going to stop talking and let my friend explain who he is and what he does. I hope to see you at the end of the video. And I'll let you take it away.
So I'm Louis de Keizer, I'm 21. I was born and raised here in Belgium. And right now I'm working on a new project called LDK Woodworks. And I am building and designing cabins and wooden houses and everything related to wood construction. But this video is more going to be about my backstory and how I got here, basically. It's something that I've been passionate about since my parents built a new house back in 2009, I think. And yeah, I just saw the house coming together and I started trying some stuff myself with woodworking. I was 9 years old at the time and it just kept growing, you know, like I was building cabinets at first and small things, and then people started asking me to build bigger and bigger things until the point that I got to wood construction. So like building houses and tiny houses and sheds and those things. And that's just what I enjoy the most, because the feeling of looking back at what you've done in a day or a week and you know, seeing that physical thing being there, it's really rewarding. So that's why I like it a lot. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I got to wood construction, but at first it were small things, you know, like a shed for someone or a storage building or whatever. Eventually, I got to know you guys and your friends, and they had a second home in California, and California is just the US in general is a country that I love. And so I got to know you guys, and I wanted to stay with you in your house in California. Then you guys had the idea to build a tiny house there for youngsters to come over just like me and, you know, stay on the property and help them out there and stuff. And I thought it was really great, and with everything I've done before that point related to woodworking and construction, I thought, you know, if I put it all together, it would probably look something like a house. So I went over to California in 2015. I was 16 at the time, turned 17 the first month I was there. And yeah, we built a tiny house together, and just that experience was very cool for me, because it's you know, a new country and new people and a language that I wasn't good at the time. So I learned a lot there. And then Joe and I made a video about that house. And
that's me in the background, by the way.
Exactly, he's a filmmaker. So when I got back to Belgium, a lot of people here were interested in tiny house building, and eventually I started a business in doing just that. I did that for a year and a half, and after that year and a half, or after that time, I felt that I loved building the tiny houses, but I loved California and the United States more. So I sold it and went back to the US, but that's a whole other story. And yeah, now a couple of years after, I circled back to building houses. So it's kind of funny how that went. I guess it's just like something that if you love something, then it will always, you know, come back. You can't really escape it. One of the pain points with just building tiny houses was that a lot of the people who wanted a tiny house, and it's hard to say this without judgment, but I judge it a little bit, is they thought that society was messed up. I'm generalizing here, but a lot of them did. And they wanted to escape it instead of trying to fix at least some of it. And while, you know, that might work for them, it didn't work for me. So I did the opposite. I went to New York for a year and a half, which is about, you know, the middle of society. And I just learned a lot about how we live together and the problems that those tiny house people were talking about, how they're real and yeah, how they need fixing for sure. But yeah, I wanted to do more that contributes to society instead of building a society next to it or something. So now I want to build more related to wood construction, but not only the tiny houses, like you said, and mainly because I want to show that wood is still a good product to use. It's very sustainable, it's very easy to use, and it's very beautiful. Especially here in Belgium, a lot of people are using concrete and steel and bricks and all those things. But I think wood still has like this natural feel that, you know, a lot of us are missing and want to go back to. When did I start in general?
Yeah.
That was when I was 9, so
Right.
11 years ago. 12 years ago, yeah. Passion is also, I believe this very strongly, passion is something that grows from you doing something over and over and putting a lot of energy and effort and interest into one thing, and then you become passionate about it. Does that make sense? Like the more you're involved with something, the more passionate you get about it. So I guess that's what happened for me with woodworking. It's just something that I got to know so much about, and I've done so much, I've put in so many hours that you become passionate about it. And in New York, I developed my interest in marketing, which is a very complicated term to use because a lot of people are using it these days, but just the idea of making a concept and then translating it into a story that relates to people that don't know you is a really interesting process. And it's still something I'm passionate about today. Yeah, I experimented with filmmaking, with social media, website design, all those things, and those are still interests of mine. And then I had astronomy interests, like farming was super big interest of me, trucking. I mean, there were so many things that I went through, like stages I went through, but woodworking was the only one that stayed consistent and kept coming back. And that's another interest of mine is housing and cities and how that all works. Because what I mentioned about the tiny house people, like leaving society, etc., I saw the opposite in New York. Companies are buying properties, renting them out to multiple people. So like the house I was staying in, there were 20 other people staying there that totally didn't know each other. And that was very, very inspiring to me. And yeah, I just wanted to help them put that in the market. So I learned about like how to communicate on social media and make videos that relate to people, etc. I love that process a lot. In this day and age, there's a lot of segmentation, like Brexit, and then in the US politically there are weird things happening, etc. And I want to, as a company, at least put the message out there that Europe is still a thing and it's one thing. It's not 27 different countries, but like really we have the opportunity to be everywhere, so why wouldn't we be? That's why I put it on my van, is just to show people that word Europe, it's still here. So that's one thing. And second is that I want to develop more products. Like I've developed a product this week, kinda. That's what I want to gravitate towards. I'm excited about next week also, because I explained the Europe part, but next week I'm developing the America part again. So I'm really excited to see if there's like any link that can be established over the next coming weeks, but we'll see.
Well, that's it. If you have any more questions, guys, you can leave them down below. You can go and have a look at his website, ldkwoodworks.com. So we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.
Nailed it!
I really need my notes.
God damn it.
You said where you were born, right? Energy. I want to feel alive. I want to feel electrified. I want to feel in the moment. I want to feel inspired. I want to feel...